Yes, and I'm back live once again for all of you, waving in the wings. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Well, Sky Probstat with normal CDF. You guys did some of the more basic stuff with normal CDF. What I'm doing with AP Stat right now is going way beyond what you guys got anywhere close to. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Here we are, back again. Back in class. Back in quarantine or some junk like that. I don't know. Whatever. Anywho. In terms of this class, I do have to adjust my, whatchamacallit, I have to adjust my attendance. Not the attendance, the roster in Google Classroom. Because, unless that's discrete math. No, it was discrete math. Whatever. All right, back to here. But yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Leave a comment in the chat if you haven't already done so. That'd be fantastic. I'm giving people an opportunity to get into the live stream. Simply because, well, you know. Sorry, I just saw your comment. That was funny. I'm giving people an opportunity to get into the live stream because, well, maybe they're just waking up. I don't know. I've been up since like 4:30. So, whatever. Goodness, 4:30. Anyway, there they all are. There they all are. That's how I wave now. That's how I wave. I wave like a crab. Anyway, let me kind of fill you in on what we're going to be doing today. Give you a couple of reminders, and then we'll kind of move forward from there. First, I would like to talk a bit more about cryptograms and games that we could potentially play online, like today, that we could play online. That would be fantastic. You know, I would like to build a little bit more in terms of the alphabetic ciphers that we've been doing. And I would like to, and I kind of jumped the gun on this last week. I jumped the gun way too early on this last week, but I feel like I'm ready to kind of do it now. Last week, we dealt with what was known as mono alphabetic ciphers. And when I say mono alphabetic ciphers, it's creating one cipher alphabet that you would then encode or decode your message by. But today, I do want to introduce you to the concept of polyalphabetic ciphers. So last week, we dealt with monoalphabetic ciphers. Today, I want to deal with polyalphabetic ciphers. You'll see. You'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm not going to be expecting you to break the code of a polyalphabetic cipher today. No. We are nowhere near doing that. But I would like to introduce you to the concept of how you would encode and decode using these polyalphabetic ciphers. And yes, thank you guys for all of your comments in the chat. I'm waving to all of you in my crab-like fashion that I typically do. Whatever, I don't know. Look what this mask has done to my beard. You guys don't typically see this, but look how messed up my beard is. It's like the mask just kind of mats it down. I gotta trim this sucker down. Anyway, I gotta stop looking in this thing like it was a mirror. Anyway, as a reminder, and I waited purposefully for more of you to get into the live stream. I waited purposely for more of you to get into the live stream, but according to my records, only half of you have turned in that assignment of the cryptogram paragraph, the one that we started in class. So I'm just saying, you need to get that sucker done if you haven't already. Thank you guys for the ones who have turned it in so far. I've looked at a few of them, and perfect, fantastic, absolutely. Not going to give anything away just yet, but of course, according to my directions, I just kind of wanted to see your work in progression on that. So, first things first, I want to Put a, what is that? It took me forever. Yes! Sorry. Well, okay. This is actually a very good learning moment, Sky, for what you're saying right there, because I guarantee you, you're not the only one. You are not the only one who probably felt that way. Oh, it took me forever, la, 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 kept messing up, blah, 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 that whole thing. I get that. I totally get that. Code breaking does not come easy. It does not come easy. When I talked about the Enigma machine, which, again, if you have not seen the movie, The Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Can't even say his name today. If you haven't seen that movie, if you have seen it, you have a better understanding of what the Enigma machine was. But you can understand that in order to break the Enigma machine, it took them a long time. And it took a team of people working together for like, I don't even know how many hours a day just to break this one machine to figure out, okay, how do we decipher this code? So for you guys to be able to break that big paragraph, that was a big deal. That was a big deal. I like that. But the purpose of the first part of today is I would like to do a little game with you. Now, when I say a little game with you, this little game is kind of an independent game. It's kind of an independent game. First, I'm going to show you how this game actually works. First, I'm going to show you how this game actually works. And then I want to give you an opportunity to play said game on your own. Now, I do, what is this? Oh, okay, cool. Sorry. Got an email from somebody that I got to read in a few minutes. But anyway, I'm trying to get to the video of you guys so I can see the live chat and see what this thing actually looks like. There we go. But what I have on the screen right now, and it's a little difficult to see, but it is an online cryptogram. And I want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of play around with it a little bit. Now, when I send you the link, because I am going to send you the link in the chat, but when I send you the link to this online cryptogram, unfortunately, it's not going to give you the same puzzle that I have. It's going to give you a different puzzle. Basically, like they use your IP address in order to figure out, like, okay, well, you know, what have we given you this puzzle before kind of situation, you know, or, ooh, were you working on this puzzle and then you stopped working on this puzzle or some junk like that. Because if I go over to my computer and I hit refresh, watch this, boop, boop, boop. It doesn't change the puzzle. It stays the same. I love it so much. But anyway, the way that this website works is really nice, and it'll help with cracking the thing a little bit more. But basically, if I click on any one of these little spots, I'm trying to think of like a good example to start with, like maybe like right here with this G, it's like an apostrophe G. And again, I apologize if you can't see it because that glare might be in the way. But there's like an apostrophe G right there. And if I click on that apostrophe G, boop, it highlights all of the places where there is a G in this particular puzzle. And I don't know what that apostrophe G could be. Could that be like an apostrophe S? Most likely it's probably an apostrophe S. I'm just thinking about that off the top of my head. Because then you got a bunch of two-letter words that could be like something S, like IS or AS or some junk like that. Bunch of words. These words ending in S. Ooh, this word's the same word as that word. Again, I haven't actually tried this puzzle yet. But what's nice is that when I type in the letter S, not only does it place an S in all of those locations, but it also, and it's a little hard to see on your screens from right here. You'll see it a little bit better when you get to the website. But down here, you can see the S is already used. Now, if I try to use an S one more time on this website on a different letter, if I try to use an S, let's say like right here, it'll highlight all of the S's in red because it's like, no, you can't do that. With mono alphabetic ciphers, you can't do that. So I'm going to get rid of that S right there. It's kind of nice. Now with this thing, it's kind of nice to be like, you just type in letters and see if they work and see if they don't work and things of that nature. You'd be like, Oh, sorry. I'm just, again, thinking about what this thing could be. I was thinking, like, what could it be? It's like a double letter apostrophe S. It could be like it's, like ITS. If it is it's, then this one up here would be is. And then you kind of go from there. It's a really nice kind of website. If you get to the end and filling in all the letters and you are correct, the website will automatically tell you that you're correct only if you have the final correct answer. And again, I don't know what this thing could be. This could be an O right here. Things might be kind of coming together. This could be an F or an R or some junk like that. I don't know. What could that be? Or this could, no, that can't be an S then. Or that can't be an O. I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. So what I'd like you to do, I want to give you an opportunity to try and mess around with this website. So I'm going to paste the link to this website in the live chat. Boom, there it is right there. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to take the next only like 5 to 10 minutes, just 5 to 10 minutes. And I want you to mess around with this website. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you there are hints. There are hints that they could give you, but that's no fun. Try to do it without the hints. I don't know. Sometimes it can be fun. And of course, if you need to delete a letter, you could always delete a letter or type over it, and it'll automatically change the rest, which is nice. So I'm looking at the clock right here. The time is about 8:36 on my clock, 8:34 probably on yours. I'm going to give you the next 5 or so minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Mess around with this website, and then I'll call you back when we reconvene. Go. Sorry, I'm going to give you more time. I'm going to give you more time. But I just sat down and just messed around with it, and I figured out my puzzle. I was just very proud of myself. Keep going. Okay, sorry, I got carried away. I did like 2 or 3 of them just for funsies. But yeah, it's a lot easier to do cryptograms on a device like this, simply because you could easily, type and delete and retype different letters and just try them in different combinations. And it automatically shows up visually in front of you, which is fantastic. It really, really is. But that is simply because of computers. If you think about the art of cryptology, cryptology goes back millennia, and computers have only really been around in the past 100 years or so. In fact, some of the precursors to computers, some of the not descendants, but ancestors. There we go. Some of the ancestors of the modern computer go back to some of the best code breakers that we had out there, or people who were just very knowledgeable of ciphers and whatnot. It's really awesome to think about it. But of course, you can try this website anytime you want. It does keep track of your times and whatnot. And I believe if you do click this thing up here, right there, if you click that thing up there, I'm going to click mine. It does give you like certain awards. I think part of my issue. Oh, there it is. Cool. So you can see like the games that I've played 12 games on there so far. And you can get a little awards, if you solve puzzles without checking a hint or use anything along those lines, you could get little trophies here, And I mean, 250. Am I really going to do 250 of these? You know what? Maybe. Just for fun. But this is just one of those silly little things. Okay. What I'd like to do next, again, you can check that website out anytime you want. But what I would like to do next, I want to recap something about monoalphabetic ciphers, and then I want to take that small transition to polyalphabetic ciphers. So if you would, if you do not already have them out, I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. Come on, paper. There we go. Excellent. Switch my screen over. Huzzah. Okay. Now, like I said, if you do have a question, I do have the chat open where I'm sitting away from the computer. So if you do have that question, I can easily just answer that right there. Today is the 9th. Good for us. And we're going to call this Mono Alpha Wrap Up. Mono Alpha Wrap Up. Zoom in on that statement right there. Now, the reason why I say that, I mean, any type of cryptogram or that paragraph that you had to do for homework, anything along those lines are monoalphabetic ciphers. A monoalphabetic cipher, just to be very clear about it, and again, this is kind of a wrap-up kind of thing, but a monoalphabetic cipher is where each letter in the plain text is changed to a corresponding letter in the cipher text. A monoalphabetic cipher is in reference to the fact that it's one alphabet. And part of the reason why you don't have a lot of secret codes officially being written using monoalphabetic ciphers is because they're very easy to crack them. if you have a mono alphabetic cipher, one letter, one alphabet, letter frequency, any type of frequency analysis can help you crack that thing down. Looking for certain letter pairs, looking for certain spaces, of course. Spaces are a huge deal, you know. But even if you did not have those spaces, if those spaces did not exist, it is certainly plausible that you could use a frequency analysis to kind of figure out what each letter could or could not be and start to throw them in there to see if, like, oh, could this work? Could this work? Could this work? Oh, eventually, after a certain amount of time, I can crack that. So there needed to be a better system. It was nice. It was a little puzzle thing, you know. They put little cryptograms in the newspaper nowadays. It's kind of fun. But let's make it a bit more difficult. Now, I'm not going, like I said, I'm not going to expect you to be able to crack these, at least not right now. But I want to show you how they work. So what I'm going to do is this. First of all, definition that I'm going to write down. A polyalphabetic cipher uses multiple cipher alphabets. You'll see what I mean when I actually try to encode something. And I am going to encode something. So let me get my piece of paper. And let me write down our plain text. Our plain text for today is one of the more famous plain text statements that you'll ever hear. I'll put it all in lowercase letters. And I'll, you know, the punctuation doesn't really matter right now, but that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. This is our plain text for today. Now, if I were going to encode this using a mono-alphabetic cipher, I would create some kind of keyword, maybe moon, and I would create a cipher alphabet based on that. But there's a few issues that come into play. So actually, let's do that using a mono alphabetic cipher. I'm going to use, should I use the word moon? Yeah, I'll use the word moon. I'll use the word moon. It has the double O, but I can only use one of the O's. But let's create the mono alphabetic cipher using this plain text and the word moon. It's not going to be perfect, but let's just see what happens. So, A, B, C. Oh, that's a good one. Sky's recommending we use lunar. I like that better, and I'm going to use your idea. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. There we go. No, but I think it's a great idea that we use the word lunar. I think that's a great idea. Let's see if I have I wanted to use a Sharpie, but I don't have. What color is this? Ooh, here we go. I found a super Sharpie. Nice. But yeah, I'm going to use the word lunar because I think that's a much better idea than moon. L-U-N-A-R. Is it AR? I'm so bad at spelling. I'm going to trust that you're right. But I just want to, yeah, lunars looks terrible. Lunar versus lunar. Yeah, clearly you're correct. And clearly I don't know how to spell properly. Lunar. There we go. But I'm creating this cipher alphabet. Now we've got the keyword lunar in there. We pick up with R. R, LMNOP, Q, R, S, T. We've already used U. V, W, X, Y, Z. We've already used A. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. We've already used L. M. We've already used N. O, P, Q. There we go. There's our cipher alphabet. Now we're going to encode it. Now I want to talk about some of the problems, some of the issues that occur when we only have a mono-alphabetic cipher, because the entire goal of cryptology is to keep something secret. So if I'm going to try and keep this secret, well, let's just see what the code looks like, and then we'll kind of go from there. So the letter T for that's should be an I. So I'll write this down here. I. H should be a V. A should be an L. I. H. That's the word that's. There's the word one. O-N-E. Should be O, and then N, and then E. If you notice, I'm writing the cipher alphabet all in the same color, so we can kind of see the comparison between the plain text and the cipher text. That's one small. There we go. That's one small step. So let's see. H, T, E, P. It spelled the word higher. Sorry, that doesn't always happen. It usually never happens, but it happened here. So it's pretty funny. That's one small step for man. Now, one of the issues, before I finish the rest of this, just to kind of critique a little bit, one of the issues that we were having was the direction as to whether or not you are enciphering or deciphering a message. If you are enciphering a message, then clearly you can see hopefully what I'm doing here in terms of going letter for letter. When I say that's, I went T, H, A, T, S. And then when I did one, I went O, N, E, and then I kind of went from there. Each letter in red is representing, of course, the cipher alphabet that we're dealing with. That's a comma. Okay, that's one small step for man. The word one again, so I already know it's DCR. One giant. There we go. One giant leap. So Z R A P. One giant leap for mankind. I already know what the word for is. It's SDG. And then mankind. Oh, you can't see that. I'll bring it up in a moment. There we go. Let's move that up. There we go. Good. Zoom out a little. Okay. Now, this is using a monoalphabetic system. One alphabet. Each letter in the one plain text alphabet represents one letter in the cipher alphabet. There are certain deficiencies that we have to address. The fact that you have repeated words. Even right here, BLC, BLC with the rest of the word, that's obviously that's the same right there. The doubling of letters right here. I mean, it's ending a word. I mean, it could be like a double S or a double L. I mean, we know it's a double L. The letter frequency might be helpful. I purposefully did not choose the word and or the in my phrase, but it does have that's the TH. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That TH is there, but that TH doesn't repeat, thankfully. It doesn't repeat, thankfully. There are a lot of different things that somebody who is knowledgeable in code breaking could do in order to decipher this. I dare say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do, well, I tell you what, I'm going to do this after class. I am actually going to do this, and I'm going to tell you what happens. After class, I am going to give this to Mr. Liston. Mr. Liston knows a lot about cryptology. Obviously, he's the one who originally put this class together. I'm going to give this to Mr. Liston, and I'm not going to give him anything else. And I'm going to ask him, when he has a moment, to try and decipher this. I'm going to tell him it's a monoalphabetic cipher. I'm going to tell him that much, but that's all that I'm going to tell him. And knowing that it's a monoalphabetic cipher, I'm going to give him some time to try and figure out what the thing is supposed to say. And I'm going to ask him to kind of like, I'm not going to ask him right then and there, but I'm going to ask him to time himself to be like, okay, how long did it take you? And then I will report that back to you on Thursday. I think that's a great experiment. Giving this to Mr. Liston and seeing how long did it take you to crack this code kind of situation. Especially considering the fact that we did not use the word and, we did not use the word the, and the repeated words were mankind really, but man and one. Those are not very common in terms of repeating. I wonder if he could do that. I'm actually really excited now. But anyway, I will run that to him after class. And I'll report back to you. But you can see the discrepancies, the issues, the deficiencies. Anybody who has any knowledge in cryptology, given a certain amount of time, would be able to crack this. So what does one do? We have to get a tougher system. And the tougher system is using a polyalphabetic cipher. I've posted this in the Google stream before. I've handed out actual copies of this. But I am going to post it one more time to the Google Classroom so I can show you how to use this polyalphabetic cipher. So let's see. From the Google Drive, I saved it today. It's called well, I've heard people pronounce it different ways. I've heard it pronounced Vigneer or Vignier. I've heard it pronounced different ways. PDF for today. Post. I want you to take a look at this. Boop. I just posted this into your Google Classroom stream, and I would prefer that you look at the PDF of this simply because it'd be a lot easier than trying to figure out what's on my screen. So I'm just connecting to my PDF thing here so I can see it. But this is a polyalphabetic cipher, or a polyalphabetic alphabet, I should say. And what this alphabet allowed people to do, and when I tell you that this system of encrypting things was the best, I gotta tell you, for at least at least 1,000 years, nothing was better than what I'm about to show you. Eventually, it was cracked. Eventually, people figured out ways of cracking this system. Any system is crackable. Just how much time do you have to crack it? You know, some people, it takes them centuries to do that kind of thing. If you guys have heard about like people deciphering like ancient languages, think about like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Egyptian hieroglyphics is nothing more than a code waiting to be cracked. That's all that it is. And for centuries, people had no idea what the Egyptian hieroglyphics were trying to say. They didn't. They had absolutely no idea. Until the Rosetta Stone. Somebody discovered a broken stone that had 3 languages on it: Greek, Coptic, Egyptian hieroglyphic. And because of that Rosetta Stone, we were able to then crack the code of the Egyptian hieroglyphics. All it takes sometimes is catching a lucky break. Sometimes it takes a lot of hard work. But you can eventually crack these codes. The way that this, I'm going to call it a Viennere square, just because it kind of flows. The way that this Viennere square works is this. Depending on the letter that you're doing, depending on the letter that you are enciphering, you are using a different row of this alphabet. So what I'm going to show is we are encipher message. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. We're going to encipher the same message using the same keyword. I like the word lunar, so we're going to go with the word lunar. We're going to do that using this Viennere square. Now, if you notice across the top, it says plain. That's your plain text alphabet. That's your plain text alphabet. The first letter of our phrasing, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The first letter is a T. So that's the plain text. But now you have 25 choices. You have 25 choices of letters to choose from. Which one do we use? If only we had a keyword, which clearly I'm stalling because we have a keyword. I'm going to use Sky's word one more time, lunar. I like the word lunar. I think that's better than what I have. This is what we're going to do. So let me set something up on paper, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to encipher this code. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. I'm going to ask you to write that phrase one more time, except I need you to leave space underneath the plain text so that we could write the ciphertext. That's one small step. I'm going to leave a space for man, one giant leap, leave a space for mankind. Okay. Now, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between this and the Viennere square. Viennere square? Viennere? I don't know how to pronounce it. The square. I'm going to jump back and forth. So let's see. The first letter is T. But what do we use? Our keyword is lunar. Our keyword is lunar. Which means, and I'm going to write this up here in a minute, when I go to this Viennere square, the row that I'm going to use is the row that starts with L. And my plain text is a T. Which brings me right here to E. It's a little bit of tic-tac-toe. My plain text is a T. So across the top. Oh, wait, did I get the right one? Yes, I did. It's a little hard to see on the thing, but the plain text is a T. And the row that I'm using is the row that starts with L for lunar. So the letter that I'm pointing to, the E, that is my cipher text. So let me put that right here. E. Now, in terms of the word lunar, I'm going to write across the top real quick. Hold on. L-U-N-A-R. 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 And I would continue like that. You can't, it's a little hard to see. Let me zoom in a bit. There we go, a little tiny bit easier to see. But what I'm doing is I wrote across the top of my plain text, I wrote the word lunar, one letter for one letter, and I keep repeating it. L-U-N-A-R, L-U-N-A-R, L-U-N-A-R. And I would continue that the whole way through. So then for the Veneer square, I would look at the column for my plain text. I would look at the row using my keyword, and I would write down my cipher letter. Let's do the same thing for H. So for H, it's my plain text. I'm going to look at the row that starts with U. So go back up here. H is my plain text. And right here, this row right here, the row that starts with U, I get a B. That B for boy, that B is my cipher letter. You can do this the whole way through. Now, I'm going to complete the word that's with you, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to finish out the rest on your own. I'm going to do the same, and then we're going to compare. But I want to finish this first word with you. So H, row E for lunar, I get a B. So let me write a B. I'll write a B right here. And then the next one, well, I got to go N for lunar, so that's the row. T, again, is my... No, I'm sorry, I skipped a letter. Oh, snap. It's a good thing I'm taking this slow. I totally skipped a letter here. I got to fix my lunar now. That's okay. What I said verbally still stands. What I said verbally is that I would just keep repeating this word lunar, letter for letter, across the top. So now I'm on the word, or the letter A for that's. And I'm on the letter N for lunar. So A for that's and N for lunar. Well, it's an N. Remember, the row that you use is based on the word lunar. The column that you use is based on your plain text. So that just becomes an N. T. Yeah. Now here's something. There we go. Here's something that kind of gets a little bit weird with the way that this enciphers. Notice the last row of this whole thing. The last row starts with an A. In the word lunar, you have that's the row that you're starting with. And the T corresponds to a T. This, unfortunately, the way that this thing is the T just corresponds to another T. Oh, goodness. Here, let me label these real quick. Lunar. Those are the rows that we would be using, the lunar rows. L-U-N-A-R. Those are the only rows. We're going to be using 5 different rows in this thing. But because we have that letter A for lunar, a T is just going to correspond to another T. And then that S is under row R for lunar. So I got to go back up here, and I got to go to row R right here. But the plain text is an S. So that is a J that I got to use. It takes, obviously, some extra time. And obviously, I'm going back and forth, and I'm going deliberate with this thing to kind of show you. But one thing that I will immediately point out is this. Notice, this T was ciphered to be an E. And this T was ciphered to be a T. I mean, technically, because, But my point is they were ciphered to be different letters. In this polyalphabetic cipher, you can't really use frequency analysis the way that we once did. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, and I'm going to try to do the same as well. I'm going to try and encipher this using this system. And if you did this correctly, you should get the same ciphertext that I did. Now, we have time to do this. We absolutely do. But in the next 10 minutes, I want to see what you can do with this. What I'll kind of compromise is this. If you think you can do this, go for it, knock the whole thing out. If you think you need a little bit more practice seeing what's going on, I'm going to do one more word with you. So if you think you got this, go for it, knock it out. If you think you need a little tiny bit more practice, I'm going to show you how to do the word one, for that's one. So let's go. Across the top, I wrote the word lunar. L-U-N-A-R, 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 and I would keep going. Every letter would be lunar, 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 lunar. And depending on what letter of lunar that I am using, that determines the row on the Venn square that I'm going to use. Again, everything written in black is my plain text, and that would determine the column that I would use. So I would have to use the column for the letter O, and I would have to use the row of the letter L for lunar. We'll go back to my Venn square. And according to this, O and L would get me a Z. You can't see it because the glare's in the way. I apologize. But it would get you a Z. Then, so I'm going to try and do this all in one shot from up here. There's the word one. And there's the word lunar on top of it. And it's ciphered to become a Z. Plain text, the next letter is N. I would have to go down to the U row, which is here, which gets you an H. And then the next letter is E, plain text. Going down to the row for N, right there, would get me an R. So it should be Z, HR. You have to keep track of the word lunar across the top of your plain text because that will determine the row that you're using. So instead of using one alphabet, you are specifically using 5 alphabets. And anybody who is trying to decipher what you're encoding, they have no idea what your keyword is. And because they have no idea what your keyword is, and if they know it's polyalphabetic, then they have 25, 26 alphabets to potentially choose from. It is like it's a headache just thinking about it, unless you know the key word. So I'm going to go try to finish enciphering mine. You go do yours. We'll meet back in the middle. I do apologize. I was getting too carried away with what I was doing. I wasn't able to finish. What I wanted to do. So I do apologize for that. I am going to show you the results of this next time as well, just so we can kind of get this thing moving. This is what I got so far. So you can kind of check to see what you got versus what I got. I was rushing a lot, but I will go back and make sure that all of my letters are correct the way that they should be. But I always mess this up. This class ends at 24, and I keep thinking it's going to end at 28. So I always think I have more time than I have. Blast. But anyway, if you haven't turned in that homework, make sure you get that thing done. I am going to be assigning you something before the end of this week. I'm going to sign off. If you haven't already left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm out. Oh, and I will give that cipher to Mr. Liston. I will give that cipher to Mr. Liston and see if he can't crack it with those rules.